A hadrosaurus thigh bone was found sticking out of Woodbury Creek. The bone was sent to Dr. Caspar Wister, who failed to recognize which animal this bone belonged to. It was then disregarded and was soon lost. So, the first dinosaur bone to be found was also the first to be lost. Dr. Wister lost the chance to become the first discoverer of dinosaurs. Buffon wrote in Histoire Naturelle that America was a land with stagnant water, unproductive soil, and animals without size or toughness. He even went as far as saying that the natives there lacked virility. Buffon's statement gained huge support from non-Americans. In addition, he claimed that the current creatures are inferior to extinct ones. However, Thomas Jefferson did not like these offensive statements. Naturalists had begun to assemble the bones of a giant elephant-like creature known at first as the Great American Ecognathon. Later, it was identified as a mammoth. But naturalists got carried away. They overestimated the size of the creature by a factor of times 6. They gave it claws, which came from a megalonyx found nearby. They also claimed that it had the agility and ferocity of a tiger. When tusks were discovered, they were forced into the animal's head in different ways. The alternation of the mammoth's structural appearance was made in order to disprove Buffon's offensive claims. However, since it was extinct, Buffon took this as an opportunity to prove American creatures' degenerate nature. In 1795, a selection of bones made their way to Paris, and George Cuvier examined them. Since no one in America has written a formal description of the creature, Cuvier did so. Therefore, he became the official discoverer of the creature and he named it the mastodon. 1 year later, Cuvier wrote a landmark paper, Note on the Species of Living and Fossil Elephants, where he introduced the formal theory of extinction. This theory explains that the Earth has experienced global catastrophes periodically. However, Thomas Jefferson could not accept this theory. Therefore, he sent a party to explore the interior of America in hopes to find healthy herds of mastodons. Yet, he did not find anything to disprove the theory. In the same year, William Smith invented the notion that would eventually make his reputation. He believed that interpreting rocks would lead to finding answers in the fossils. By noting which species appeared in which strata, you could work the relative ages of rocks wherever they appeared. Unfortunately, Smith was not interested in understanding why rocks were laid down the way they were. This notion confirmed Cuvier's theory of extinction. By the early 19th century, fossils became of huge importance. Bones were being commonly found. For example, in 1806, the Lewis and Clark expedition passed through Hell Creek Formation in Montana, an area where fossil hunters would find dinosaur bones. But scientists did not recognize their worth. Other bones and fossilized footprints were found in Connecticut River Valley of New England, which were the bones of Ankylosaurus. The Ankylosaurus bones found in 1818 were the first to be examined and saved, but unfortunately were not recognized for what they were until 1855. However, by this time, paleontological momentum had moved to England. In 1812, between the age of 11 to 13, Mary Anning discovered the fossil of Ichthyosaurus, which is a sea monster. Anning spent the next 35 years gathering fossils, and she found the first Plesiosaurus, which was another marine monster. She would extract the fossils delicately in the most extreme conditions, using basic archaeological tools. It took her 10 years to excavate the Plesiosaurus. Despite her skills and talents, she spent most of her life in poverty. Mansell was a devoted paleontologist. He inspected a tooth fossil his wife found, but he failed to recognize the exact animal it belonged to. He thought that the tooth belonged to an herbivorous reptilian extremely large creature from the Cretaceous period. Later, the tooth was sent to Cuvier to be inspected, and he thought that it belonged to a hippopotamus. He later apologized for his mistake. Meanwhile, Mantell spoke to a researcher who believed that the tooth was very similar to an iguana's tooth. As a result, Mantell named the dinosaur of the tooth Iguanodon. However, Reverend Buckland was the first to write an official research paper about the dinosaur. Therefore, he was given the credit of the discovery. He changed its name to Megalosaurus. Later, Mantell discovered that the fossil belonged to a Heliosaurus. Richard Owens was a doctor. In his early 20s, he worked in the Royal College of Surgeons, and he became a famous comparative anatomist of animals. He studied both living and extinct creatures from Platypus echidnas marsupials to Ahapus dudu and the extinct giant bird called moas. In 1861, he was the first to describe the Archaeopteryx and to write a formal inscription about the dodo. Owens published over 600 papers of comparative anatomy about different animals through the Zoological Society. In 1841, he created the term Dinosauria. During his trip on the Beagle, Charles Darwin would often send fossils to Owens to analyze and identify them. Through the findings, he was able to come up with the theory of evolution. Museums were designed primarily for the use of the elite, and even then, it was difficult to gain access. Owens planned to welcome everyone, not just the elite. He even proposed to put informative labels on each display so that people could appreciate what they were seeing. In 1856, Richard Owens became the driving force behind the creation of London's Natural History Museum. In 1898, a trove was discovered at a place called Bone Cabin Quarry. Hundreds and hundreds of fossil bones were found on the hills. Initially, when the place was discovered, 100,000 pounds of ancient bones were excavated from the site.